Hey 49er fans, I'm Thomas Monk. Welcome into Chat Sports. This video is sponsored by Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com/49ers. Get 20% off your first order plus free shipping. Go to manscaped.com, again, /49ers right now. All right, 49er fans, a lot of news and rumors to go ahead and jump into. It has been a very, very busy week for San Francisco, or busy week last week for the 49ers. Some good, some bad. We're going to break down all the latest news and rumors right now, starting with the big news of this past week. Not only is Dez Samuel dealing with an injury, now Richie James Jr. has broken a bone in his wrist. Yes, another 49er wide receiver is down and out for the foreseeable future, but it's not as bad as some people are expecting because it's only about a 2-month sideline, 2-month injury in terms of his timetable to go ahead and get back on the football field. As I said with the Dez Samuel injury last week, if you were going to have one of your wide receivers get injured, or any player for that instance, you want it to happen right now. That way he has the couple extra months leading up to training camp, but even through training camp to get healthy. A lot better to be injured now than to be injured during the start of training camp, or really during the start of the NFL season. So the news there again, a broken bone in Richie James's wrist. It looks like he'll be sidelined for 2 months, which is rough because the wide receiver injuries keep piling up, but now you're going to have more opportunities for more players to go ahead and step up and see who really becomes the number one wide receiver on this team in the absence of not only Dez Samuel, but Richie James as well. Right now, without Dez and Richie, here's what your depth chart looks like. Obviously, you see that on your screen right now. Let's hope Brandon Ayuk and Jalen Hurd can pick up the slack, right? Those are the two guys, including Kendrick Bourne, who are going to be asked a lot of during the offseason, a lot of during training camp, and maybe even into the first couple weeks of the NFL season, depending on when Dez and Richie come back to go ahead and get on that roster. I would bet that Brandon Ayuk will probably take over kick and punt returns for Richie James Jr. He obviously did that with the special teams group this past season, but right now, the news to go ahead and start the video off is that Richie James, of course, has a broken bone in his wrist, which means 49ers might be in the market to go ahead and sign a new wide receiver. We'll talk about that here in 1 second. First, answer the question. Do the 49ers need to go out and sign a wide receiver right now? Type Y down below for yes, type N down below for no in the comments section. All right, so 49ers might need a wide receiver, and the one that the 49er players themselves are all tweeting about is one Dez Bryant. Yes, so right now, we have a lot of 49er players, 3 in total, but more are being added, who apparently are trying to recruit Dez Bryant via Twitter to come be a San Francisco 49er. Now, Dez, of course, has not played each of the past 2 seasons. You remember he was, let go by the Dallas Cowboys, and then eventually picked up by the Saints, tore his Achilles, and has just not been back on the football field. But the 31-year-old wide receiver has been working out and really wants to come back to the field, and maybe it's a perfect storm in terms of Dez Bryant getting back not only in the NFL, but with the San Francisco 49ers. My question before I show you guys the tweets is, how good can Dez Bryant actually be? That's my concern, right? It's been 2 years. Can he come back on the football field and even be 60% of himself, 70% of himself? Because he could probably teach a lot of these young wide receivers a thing or two. The question is, will he be worth the time and the media attention? The 49ers must figure that out right now. So the question is, of course, who is recruiting him? We'll start with Kendrick Bourne, who got the whole thing started by going on his Twitter account and going at 49ers, at Dez Bryant, and a little eyeball emoji 3 times. And then you had Dez Bryant reply to that with the eyeball emoji. And then you had Raheem Mostert, who commented down below, who said, ooh-wee, that'll be fun. That'll be fun. Not that would be fun, that'll be fun. You want to break down, what exactly the word meaning is there. That'll be fun means that it's actually going to happen. Although, well, who's to say that Raheem Mostert actually knows whether it's going to happen or not? It's fun to think about it, though, right? Because when you think about Dez Bryant, and you put him on the 49ers' current wide receiver depth chart, you go, okay, is he going to be the number 1 wide receiver? Would he be the number 4 wide receiver, as you see right now? Would he be number 2? Like, where does he fit in the wide receiver depth chart? Now, of course, a wide receiver depth chart is not exactly a full indication of where your wide receiver will play and how many snaps, but right now, if Dez is able to come in, be 60, 70% of his former great Cowboy self, and also be able to mentor the young players, I'm all for it. If he's not there, and I think the 49ers will be able to figure out pretty quickly if he is, still a good receiver or not, don't bring him in and trust the young wide receivers to go ahead and lead this football team. As really, you got to hope that it's not only just the young wide receivers, it's Kittle, it's Garoppolo, and some of the older wide receivers, a.k.a. Bourne, Trent Taylor, some of the older guys on the roster, maybe even Dante Pettis, who can try to figure these things out and fill the gaps in the absence of Dez and Richie James. The whole point of this whole thing, though, is that I want to emphasize that both Dez and Richie James will be back this season. Both are expected to be ready to go by the early start of the year, and so now you got to decide, do you need another wide receiver body? And if you do, which one will it be? Could it be Dez? Could it be someone else? It's going to be very, very interesting. Question for you guys here, though. You guys want me to make a top free agent wide receivers that the 49ers could go ahead and sign video, then type ME down below. Type me down below as well, and make sure you're subscribed that way whenever I release that video, because hint, I probably am going to do a list of free agent wide receivers the 49ers could sign right now. That way it'll be delivered to your inbox, delivered to your subscription box if you subscribe right now, because we're only 15 subs away from 25,000 subscribers, meaning we'll probably get that by the time this next video drops. So be sure to subscribe down below and type me if you want that specific 49ers report for top free agent wide receivers the Niners can sign. I can see it right now. We'll do that a little bit later on this week. Okay, moving on. More news here. Trent Williams has officially signed his new contract. Kind of. A lot of people are seeing the headline of, oh, Trent Williams has signed his new deal. That means he's been inked and then he'll be a 49er for a very long time. Not so fast. The bigger news is that Trent Williams passed his physical. Of course, did not play in the National Football League last year, sat out the entire year, traded to the 49ers during the NFL draft. It's big to get this deal done, but I got to explain exactly what the deal looks like, because, again, Twitter will say Trent Williams' deal is done and he's going to be a 49er. Well, he's going to be a 49er at least for the remainder of the year. Before I show you the Trent Williams contract extension details, be sure to give a shout out to our sponsor, Manscaped, manscaped.com. Go to manscaped.com/49ers to get 20% off your first order plus free shipping. Again, right now, if you go to manscaped.com/49ers, you pick up anything, the Lawnmower 3.0, the perfect package, you get the deodorant for down south, any of that stuff right now is exactly 20% off with free shipping. All you got to do is click the link down below in the description box, or just search manscaped.com/49ers to go ahead and jump in on that excellent deal and great promo code. Back to what Ian Rappaport had to say. This is the perfect description of exactly what's going on with the contract here. So he quote tweeted essentially a picture that Trent Williams put on Instagram saying, quote, left tackle Trent Williams officially signed his contract last night, one that was tweaked for the 2020 season to advance him half his cash and guarantee it, sources said. He also passed his physical, a key part to all of this. So let's break that down. He did not sign a multi-year contract extension. He essentially took the final year of the deal he had with Washington, which of course is included over in the trade with the 49ers, about $12 million of non-guaranteed money, and the 49ers guaranteed half of it and gave him some bonus incentives at the same time. So Williams is not signed anytime soon in terms of he's not signed through the 2021 season or signed for the next 4 years. It was a contract tweak on the current contract he had that was brought over when he was traded to the 49ers by the Redskins. It's about $12 million. They guaranteed half of it. And the hope is, I think, that he plays well this year and then he'll get a massive mega extension that, of course, he deserves because he's one of the best left tackles in the league at the end of the 2020 season. It's really, in my opinion, a win for the 49ers. It keeps Trent Williams happy because it guarantees him some money, but it also doesn't tie you to Trent Williams. Heaven forbid he has a bad injury or he just doesn't play as well as everyone thinks he's going to play there at left tackle. But right now, that 49ers offensive line, it looks pretty darn solid. As solid as it was last year, probably even a little bit better. I think he's better than what Joe Staley was toward the end of Staley's career, especially last year with the injuries. I am as excited about Trent Williams and getting this deal done as I think any 49er person is in the entire media and also just as a fan in general overall. Final bit of news here as we go ahead and get you guys the latest stuff happening with the 49ers. Jamal Adams' trade details in terms of what it would cost to trade for him has officially been revealed, and you being a 49er fan has probably known Jamal Adams not only demanded a trade last week, but also listed the 49ers as one of 7 teams he would be willing to play for. All of those, of course, were listed by ESPN's Adam Schefter, and were all, winning teams like the 49ers, the Eagles, the Seahawks, the Chiefs. But the 49ers were mentioned, and so a lot of blogs are saying 49ers must trade for Jamal Adams, or the 49ers should not trade for Jamal Adams. Well, the cost of Jamal Adams is not going to be cheap. Before we get to that, though, if you guys want the 49ers to trade for Jamal Adams, before you see the price, type 1 down below for yes, type 2 down below for no. So the question is, of course, how much would it cost for the 49ers or any other team to trade for Jamal Adams? Well, ESPN had this to say in terms of Rich Comedy about the exact asking price, a guy who's covered the Jets for ESPN for a very long time, saying, quote, yeah, absolutely at minimum a first rounder. They'd be insane to let him go for anything less. Supposedly, the trade deadline, they were asking for a 1 and 2 twos from Dallas, which is an enormous ask, and they knew it at this, and they knew it at the time. It was one of those make me an offer I can't refuse type of things. So the question is it going to be a 1 and 2 twos, or would it just be a minimum of a first-round draft pick? It looks like it'll just be a first-round draft pick. Maybe a first and a mid-round draft pick, but a first-round draft pick nonetheless. Now, the 49ers technically do do have a first-round draft pick in 2021 to give up. You see their list of draft picks right now. They have a first, they have a second, they have no third because they used that to trade for Trent Williams, but they have a fourth, a fifth, a sixth, and a seventh. So technically, they had the draft capital to go ahead and make this trade and bring one of the best young safeties, one of the best young defensive players in the league over to San Francisco. Everyone says, great, send it first. I'm for it. Problem is, you then have to re-sign him, restructure his contract, and that is where the holdup comes. The 49ers don't have the money to do so. Look at the highest paid safeties in the NFL right now. Eddie Jackson of the Bears is the highest paid at 14.6. You have Kevin Byrd with the Titans, who's at 14.1. Tyrann Mathieu at 14. Landon Collins at 14. And Earl Thomas at 13.8. So you're looking at least $14 million a year when you restructure Jamal Adams' contract. Now, the problem is you have this guy named George Kittle who wants $20 million a year, which we've talked about. You got to get his deal done first, and then there are a bunch of other contracts next year, including Trent Williams, who of course are going to cost a lot of money to go ahead and get that sort of thing done. Richard Sherman as well next year. So the problem with the whole Jamal Adams is not the draft pick price, because the first-round draft pick is worth it in terms of going ahead and picking up one of the best safeties in the National Football League, as the Steelers, who of course made that great trade with the Dolphins for their safety. The problem is re-signing him to a contract extension, and right now the Niners do not have enough money. So we'll see what happens. I'm sure John Lynch is making phone calls and seeing if he could get the price down a little bit or what it would take to re-sign Jamal Adams. They're figuring all that out. If they can make the money work, go for it. But if you can't, and it's going to be tough to do, then I'd go ahead and just, start Tartan Ward at safety and be happy with the defense. Obviously one of the better ones that you have going on right now. There you go, though. All the time we have for today here on the 49ers Report. A lot of news to go ahead and break down. Hopefully you guys are all caught up now and enjoy it. Richie James, of course, broken bone in the wrist, 2 months out. Niners are trying to get Dez Bryant, according to a lot of their players. We'll see what happens. I'll update you guys as soon as that happens. Trent Williams has a new contract, kind of, but is not signed through the future. The big news, of course, passing the physical, meaning he's good to go, going to play this year for the 49ers. And finally, we just talked about Jamal Adams. It's going to be at least a first-round draft pick. The 49ers have, but then how are you going to go ahead and restructure that deal to give him $14 million when you don't have that much money at the moment? There you go. The latest news and rumors regarding our 49ers. All time we have for today here on the 49ers Report. I'm Thomas Mott, signing off for the rest of your day.